Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining the Easton Podcast. Today we have Sean Madden, the infamous, always wonderful and cheerful Sean Madden. Uh, Muay Thai black shirt, one of the first ones. I think maybe the first one. Our Muay Thai Program Director, head coach of our Muay Thai team, MMA coach, um, great boyfriend, husband, fiance to Abby Cruz. He's very lucky. Uh, Sean, how are you today, man?
I'm good. I'm good. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, man. Um, Sean and I were talking beforehand. He's always a busy man. He had a wedding last night. Now he has a baby shower / coaching practice. So we'll see which one he attends. Um, yeah, I want to just ask right away. I always think about whenever I reminisce about our hanging out together. Originally was you in your big bright orange gear um, in the old school place. And I was
Yeah.
curious, what was it like when you first joined Easton and your journey from that, like the beginning times? Tell me a little bit about that. Like paint the picture for us.
Yeah. Man, well that was what, 2009, I think, very beginning of 2009. So, um yeah, man, I was at that time, I think 20 years old, 19 years old, something like this. So, college kid. Um had trained just very briefly out in San Diego before I moved back to Colorado to finish school. And then found Easton. Um, Came in kind of on just to check things out with a couple friends. Yeah, man, and it was, as you know, it was pretty informal back then. Not necessarily in a bad way, but just when we look at what we have now compared to then, it was pretty informal. But man, right off the bat, I loved it. I still think something that kind of has lasted from those days till now is still the sense of community, even though the community was much smaller then than it is today. There was still that sense of feeling very welcome, and everyone being so friendly, and I think that's something that we really pride ourselves on having. And as our community grows, it's something that we have to really keep at the forefront. So, yeah, I think that's something that's kind of lasted the test of time, and something that really stands out to me when I look back at first coming into Easton and trying classes out, is just feeling welcome and feeling like I was in a community that really cared, which I think is really cool. That's not to say anything about the training tactics that we used back then, and how we trained, although I do think there was some value to that as well too. Yeah, but I think that's something that really stood out to me.
Yeah, I remember the packed rooms. I remember I was doing Muay Thai back then as well as my wife. And no, she wasn't my wife at the time. But I remember the rooms, like there'd be a 30-person fundamentals class, a 30-person Muay Thai class, and on one mat, smaller than the Muay Thai mat we have right now in Boulder. Um, and it's all pad work the whole time. So you start with maybe a warm up round, I can't remember, and then we just have big old heavy pads, and that was it for a full hour. And people are falling over. And I remember Ludwig laughing at everybody. But there's a fundamentals class happening next to it, and just trying not to step on people constantly. It was I remember those times, and I loved those times too. I love the times now, but there's definitely some fond memories of how crowded it was and how ridiculous it was. But we kept showing up and getting better, and then we got a bigger school. But yeah, those
Yeah,
were really good
I,
times.
I think it's good to be able to look back at what Easton was able to accomplish at that time. And I know we run into challenges now all the time, but I think that time in Easton's years, and time before that, even when I wasn't there, are really good reminders that a lot of those challenges were able to be overcome then too. And so we can definitely do all that stuff now as well. But yeah, like you said, man, it was it was packed wall to wall in there. um and we made it work. And not only did we make it work, we had a lot of fun doing it too. So
Yeah,
I think that's really important. And like a strong reason why we really do our best to frame why busy classes are so important, and making those things a positive. Because in reality too, we don't really have that problem anymore, at least not to the extent that we did in 2009. You know, people now won't know what packed really is. And there's other schools too that, you know, I know you've always referenced, like Marcello's in New York. There's different levels of packed mats, you know, and, you know, we pack our mats for sure, but I think we also do it in a much safer manner now. Our classes are always full, but they'll never be what they were like that. So I think it's always important for our instructors just for, you know, to remember that and frame that in a positive manner. The classes are full for sure, but they could be much fuller if we allowed them to be. And so it's a good problem to have.
I always go with like whatever the thing is, and my response is always great because I have kids, right? So, but I always, as a manager, remembering that too, like, man, it's so slow today. There's not a lot of people here. Great, you get to work with these people one-on-one. It's a private lesson.
Yes.
Or it's a student. Man, I wish I had more people to train with. Man, you get a private lesson today. This is awesome. Man, it's so packed today. Oh, I can barely move. Wouldn't it suck having nobody to train with? Look how many partners you get to train with. This is fucking awesome. Great, you know? Man, the class is really busy today. I don't know how to keep up with everything. Man, the class is great, but you have people in your class that are other leaders that'll help you. It's their chance to shine as well. This is great. You get to really check out how you can do things. Man, I'm hurt. It's hard to coach right now. Man, this is your chance to coach with your voice, not your legs. You know, like there's just, the answer can always be great. I know my wife doesn't always agree with me, but I love that idea because it just gets rid of the victimhood, and like you can put the onus on yourself. Like, I can make this great somehow.
Yeah.
And no students, lots of students. There is a very big positive side. And why focus on the negative when the positive can really just change the mood and the attitude of the room?
Yeah, and I think that's so important. You know, I mean, that's important for everyone in our academies, you know, from management down to, you know, to instructors and students even. You know, I think it's important that they keep that mindset too. But yeah, having that mindset as an instructor is, I think, really, really important. And like you said, it can make or break the class and the student experience. So, you know, challenging our instructors to maintain that mindset regardless of whatever the condition is or whatever they're facing. You know, like, man, construction inside of the academy, mats over here, mats over there, you know, COVID, you know, like that mindset can extend like so far down. And if you really like get a hold of that mindset and start to look at, you know, just teaching, of course, but life through that lens, man, I think it goes a really long way. And, you know, specifically speaking to our business, I think that can take good instructors to great instructors for sure.
I think keeping sorry.
No, go ahead, please.
I was just saying, I think we added that new core value, adaptability, because like we want excellence, but not every scenario is going to give you the ability to be, at least it'll feel like you won't be able to be excellent.
Yeah.
So like with the addition of adaptability, it's like, man, if you learn to adapt in every situation, like you're gonna, and keep striving towards excellence, it makes it, there's always going to be a challenge. And that's what we want. That's why martial arts are a lot of fun, because it challenges us so much, but then it gives us the opportunity to overcome those challenges. And like striving for excellence with always being able to be adaptable, like, man, that makes life, I don't know if you see the theme here, but there is definitely a big theme around these values around like trying not to get stuck in your own negativity or victimhood, because there's always a way out of it. I mean, there's not excluding trauma. Let me go deal with my dog real quick. But what were your thoughts on, before we move into like Easton more related, I was curious about our relationship together, your view on it from the beginning till now.
Yours and mine specifically?
Yeah. We've known each other for almost, man, 2009, quite a long time, 16 years.
Yeah. Man, it's crazy to think about how long it's been. And I think over those 16 years, we've had some iterations in our relationship, which is cool. You know, we've both been in different roles and different capacities, and I think just different times in our lives. You know, going through relationships and fighting careers and management jobs and this and that. So yeah, I mean, I think we were kind of like training partners to begin with, you know, and, you know, like we, I guess, kind of clashed like that, and not in a bad way. I think we pushed each other, you know, but we had some hard rounds, and, I think that's important, you know, for a lot of our relationships, is to be able to train hard with each other on the mats and you know, push each other that way. because then we know we can do that as well here, when we have conflict or whatever it is, challenges that we're working through. So I think that's really important. But yeah, obviously, you growing into the CEO role and me growing into the PD role, it's been awesome, really. I would say, if I'm being honest, like I don't want to say we've grown apart, but there's layers between us now, and not a ton, but we're not like super frequent communicators. But I think now it's like, me really well. I know you really well. You know how to communicate with me. I know how to communicate with you. I would label our relationship and our dynamic now as efficient, which I think works really well for both of us.
Speaking my language.
Yeah, I don't think that's the case for everyone. But I think you and I can speak in a way that, we can minimize words and we can get right to the point if we need to. And we know, neither of us are going to take it personal. And if we do take it personal, like, we can work that out too. So, I'm thankful for that, because that's not true with every relationship that I have with people. And I'm sure it's the same for you, and, I value that for sure. I think that's really cool. I think that's rare. And it's easy for both of us. So would I like to spend more time with you? For sure. But the time that we get to talk, it's short and sweet. And I value that as well too, because I know we're both super busy. So
yeah, I think we fill our lives with a lot of attention and always making sure we're working towards something that moves us forward, but also moves the community and our family and friends forward. And yeah, like I think 16 years, like the only person there's Elliot and Amal and Ian, right, that I've worked with as long and as closely as I've worked with you. And it takes, as I'm realizing, like it takes so long. I mean, even in 2017 or 18, we were still kind of not getting along sometimes. We'd have the meeting, get upset with each other. We had like a tough moment. And it just sort of washed, for me, I feel like it completely washed away. There was like this moment where we had a tough moment and all of a sudden we worked through it. And I've never felt like, since that moment, years ago, I felt so close and connected to you since that moment. Like there's nothing I feel like I can say to you that's going to upset you. I can just say it and move on and whatever. And it's super efficient. And I don't have to worry about always having to be in contact with you, which is fine too. But like, I can just pick up my phone a year later, be like, hey, what do you think about this? You'll give me your opinion. I'll give you mine. We'll solve a problem and we'll move on. There's not this, but that took 16 years, 15, 14 years. Like that is not an easy process.
Yeah. I'll say this too. I think this is probably at least in my opinion, the foundation of that is that you and I both took a lot of time to work on ourselves through that process. And if we hadn't have done that, if you had done it and I didn't, or vice versa, I don't know if the relationship would be the same, or what it is right now. And that was, of course, through your recommendations, through Ian's recommendations, Suskin. Yeah. I owe so much to him as well. But I do think you and I, and we still are, right? It's not like something that we just achieved and we're done with, but, we started working on ourselves as individuals around the same time. And both grew a lot as a result of that. And I think that just made us understand each other better. We understood ourselves better. And it's kind of like that victimhood stuff that we talked about, and accountability. And, so man, I think that was a large piece of the puzzle. And I'm really glad that we both took the time to do that and still work on that. But it's made things way easier.
Well, man, I know that this Easton, wouldn't be where it is, or Muay Thai, like it doesn't exist without you. Like you're such a big part of this program. You're a partner in everything that happens. And I just, that's just important that I say that and people hear that, because like how impactful and important you are to Easton is, you're second to none.
I appreciate it.
All right. So let's go down to some events a little bit, talk about Easton, what's happening around here. I try to keep track, but there's so much going on, so I'll just ask you and you can articulate it better. What have you been doing in the Muay Thai world lately? Like I know you've had some stuff happening, some big events.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe talk about those a bit.
So to start this year off, we had the Colorado State Tournament, which was at the end of February, that ISKA hosts out here in Colorado. That was a 2-day tournament that they ran. This is the first time in really since this tournament's existence, which has been a long time, over a decade, that we had an athlete from every location that has a Muay Thai program. So I say that, Littleton just started theirs and like kind of right when we did the tournament. So I don't really count them. But Longmont had an athlete, Arvada had an athlete, Boulder had athletes, Denver had athletes, Centennial and Matrix, which is really cool. That's something that I've wanted for a long time, is to be able to get to a point where we have Muay Thai athletes that are competing in the ring from all of our locations, because you and I know how valuable actual, ring experience is for our program. So getting to a point where we were building the program to where we could start putting athletes out at each of our locations is super cool. And to see that at the state tournament was awesome. So we had that at the beginning of February. The team did really well. I think we had 12 athletes and we ended up with like 8 state champs, something like this. So really, really good showing from the team. Shortly after that, we had the USA Nationals in Delaware. We had Natalia Escoval from Denver. She's one of our kid coaches, go out there. We had a couple of people fall out last minute with some injuries and life stuff. So she went out there. She got a bye to the finals. She fought a tough girl from Maryland and lost a split decision, but she performed well, and she got a really good experience. And we had Coach Terrence out there as well, who you and I know is a gem and a big part of our program now. And they put him to work out there right away, which was awesome because they know
his work. Like you, Easton or the company did.
USA Muay Thai. Yeah. He did some judging. He did some ref training. He did some timekeeping, and this was all, he volunteered to help out because he just loves the community so much. But it's, we've talked about it before. It's pretty incredible to see someone who's qualified to do that and just be able to step up and start judging Muay Thai fights. That's the level of experience that he has. It's pretty incredible. He's
like our Buddhist Superman.
Yeah, it's incredible.
I just imagine him like, he never looks for praise. You never know he's doing anything, and everything's happening.
Yeah, it's, and this is not what this conversation right now is about. But he got put on timekeeping one of the days, which in the world of officiating is a relatively like menial task, right? Like you put newer judges on timekeeping to get a feel for things, and the president of USA Muay Thai came over and was like, "Hey, what is he doing timekeeping? That's beneath him." And Terrence was like, "Hey, man, I have the best seat in the house, keeping time. I get to watch the athletes up close." And like, that's just his mentality on these things. And I
think on this real quickly, I think this is an important piece. We were talking about like everything is great. Like there's nothing you could say to Terrence, whether he's helped a new fighter or a new person or anything in the academy, whatever it is, he is just like, I'm so he just lives with gratitude.
Yeah.
It feels like he exudes it the way that, they write about in books, and how I wish I could be.
It's incredible, man. And, selfishly, I'm thankful to have someone who's like, a bit older than me and now is like really a mentor to me as well. And a mentor to a lot of people in the program. But, if he's been through everything he's been through and he acts like that on a day-to-day basis, there's no reason that we can't be doing the same thing. So, exactly. But anyways, yeah, USA Nationals was great. Good experience overall. And then we have a couple of local fights coming up next month. Some title fights for some of our guys. So, the team has been staying really busy. It's been great on the kind of the competition front, on more of the community front for our program. We are looking to schedule our next all women sparring event, which those are awesome. We just started those recently, maybe last year or the year before that. I think this is our third one coming up. This is something that's like something that is really close to me, and something that I'm really proud of, is that the amount of women that we have in our Muay Thai program. That's true on our jiu-jitsu side too, but you and I both know just it's difficult. Martial arts can be a difficult space for women because of the nature of it, and just people that are in this space who are not good people. There's so many issues. It's a sign to me of a really strong and healthy program, having a lot of women on the mat training consistently. So, hello.
Leah's on on the camera, by the way, for anybody listening.
Uh,
He's going to swimming. So yeah, no, exactly. And I think we've had the past 4 or 5 podcasts. We had a lot of females on it that talk about their experience. We had Vi Burlew and Allie Redmond, Kate Eishin, Chelsea, Neil, his wife. Yeah.
Yeah, it's I'm pretty connected to the Muay Thai community in the U.S. and anytime we have people come out and stop by Easton and train, one of the things that they're most impressed with is the amount of women that are in classes on a regular basis. And I just think that's something that's really special that we have. And I think it's really important that we celebrate that and keep that going. So having the all women sparring events is a big deal. And I'm super excited that we have another one coming up pretty soon here. And then of course, we have our in-house scrimmage on April 6th, which is in a couple of weeks. I'm excited for that as well. That, you remember the days where that was in the cage and we had, a party basically that went along with these events. So to see that event evolve to where it is today, not only the size of the event, but the skill of the students that are in the event, the organization of the event. That's
the
always
coaches, the officials, the EMTs, the setup,
every single part of it has gotten better and evolved, which is really, really cool to see. So man, having that twice a year and having that coming up is always really exciting for me. I love just being able to kind of sit there on the day and watch the skill level, like you said, of everyone involved in that event, and think about what it was 10 years ago, not even less than 10 years ago, to what it is now is really pretty amazing.
I think it's something important if you're listening, like the jiu-jitsu tournament is amazing, but it's hard to watch jiu-jitsu because it's like just ADD like crazy. Where the Muay Thai event, you get there, you sit down for like 4 hours and 5 hours and you're endlessly entertained because there's always 2 fights going on, kids, adults, and there's some scraps happening. Yeah. And Sean is always fun just to watch and observe, but it's the whole thing is excellent. I can only go for like an hour this year because I have something scheduled in the afternoon. But I'm like, I really look forward to sitting down after the tournament the day before. I'm sure Alex does too, and just watching and observing because it's just set it and just TN handles all the coaches. You sit there and give a couple nods. You're like the godfather in the background, a couple nods here and there, people looking for you for approval. And it's just really just a fun event.
It's awesome, man. I'm excited.
Yeah, me too. All right, let's see. There's so much I want to ask. So I know we talked about the community, but like on the program directors don't just handle like the fights and the classes. Like they are the vision for the program. So they handle like the quality of the coaching, how to get the coaches trained, the curriculum that's gets built, help us with our best hiring practices. They're consultants because they don't have to execute everything, but they also are executioners, or they execute a lot of things as well. It's a diverse job, but like there are a lot of responsibility on their plate as well to make sure they have the best quality. They have to make sure they're communicating with the GMs to help the GMs execute, make sure they're helping the DHs execute. They have to constantly iterate and improve on everything we're doing. Like that's the big role of the program director. Just think like a college program director, right? Like we want to always improve the program to be the best as possible. So what are some projects that you are working on this year for Easton and any that you completed last year?
Yeah, we have a big year coming up for the Muay Thai program, and we're making some changes that I think and we think are going to be really beneficial for the program. I think, like you said, first and foremost, always in my mind is delivering a quality product and quality experience for our students, and that comes with quality instruction and instructors who have the right knowledge and the right way to teach the knowledge to our students. So quality is a big part of the program director's job, and making sure that we're setting that bar and raising it every single time as well too, and making sure we can bring everyone up to the standards that we feel are, excellence is one of our core values, and we want to be chasing that as much as possible with everything we do. So we have realigned some of our instructor standards, particularly for the Muay Thai program. Coach Terrence and I have put together a test that we're going to certify all of our fundamental Muay Thai instructors in this summer. And we're really excited for that. It's going to be kind of a 3-pronged test. It's going to be a physical test, a technical test, and a written test. to basically just go over all of the knowledge that they should have to be able to teach confidently a fundamental Muay Thai class at any of our locations.
You shared it with me. So when I do a lot of workouts with my kids, and I'll be doing my workouts, and I'll add in some of the tests. Like, all right, did I get that time in? I want to make sure when I can. So I'll test myself and my kids.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That's cool. Look, and the physical test is important. It's a physical sport. We do believe in our instructors really demonstrating technique proficiently and effectively. And you have to be in a certain level of, shape to do that and to, make sure that we're kind of respecting the art and sport of Muay Thai in the way that it should be treated. So the fitness test is nothing crazy, but really what I want it to be is like, man, if you're training consistently as an instructor, you should have no problem with this. Yeah. Right. If you're not training consistently as an instructor and kind of, resting on your laurels and teaching more than you're training, man, you better get in shape for this. And look, the goal of this is, like I said, we don't want anyone to fail this test. We're going to give everyone sufficient time to get ready for it. We want everyone to pass this because ultimately what we really want is just all of our instructors to be teaching from a place of full confidence and good knowledge and good experience. So this, the bar is raised, but it's not impossible to get over. And I'm really, really genuinely excited to have everyone certified in this and just their mindset that they're going to have for teaching once they pass this test and they get certified. So, the physical portion, the written portion is going to be, can we watch some Muay Thai? Can we understand what's going on? Do we understand the fouls that are occurring in this sequence? Do we understand the scoring occurring in the sequence? Because, we are teaching an art, but we're also teaching a sport. And it's important that we make sure that our instructors know both sides of this. The art has the tradition and culture. The sport has scoring and fouls. And we want all of our students to learn all of this, both sides of Muay Thai. And so because of that, we want our instructors to have both sides of that as well too. So, and then the, kind of the technical portion is going to be, we have standards for our instructors at Easton, Kovar methods that we use, how we run classes, understanding timing and pacing for certain portions of class, so we're going to have that piece in there as well too. And we want to make sure all of our instructors are up to par and up to snuff on teaching methods that we use so that our students have a good experience in the class. It's great if our instructors have this knowledge about Muay Thai, but if they can't execute a good class, if they can't keep a class on track with the time, if their energy is low, if they pair students the wrong way, then, ultimately no one's really going to have a great experience in the class anyways. So we want to make sure that, the test covers all of these areas that would make a successful instructor. And we're going to spend an afternoon going over all of that and everyone will get certified. And I think we're going to have a really, really fantastic group of Muay Thai instructors at Easton after that.
I always think about, there's always things that resonate when you read and write and work on yourself. But for me, it's like, I think about buckets. Buckets are the ones that stuck with me the most. And I always, when we talk about the teaching, it's like you have your physical part, you have your quality part, right? You have your structure part, right? If you get all those buckets and the structures like the Kovar, timing, following the curriculum, physical part is making sure the instructor is capable and good at understands their body. And then you get quality, are they teaching real legitimate Muay Thai with the understanding of the nuances that are involved, which comes with time. But the more intense training you get on it, the quicker that can come. Nothing stops experience, but we have to be pragmatic about what's possible and how fast. Yep. With this kind of training and certifications, it actually creates a barrier to live up to. And I love how we're tackling all those buckets because they're all very important to me as well. And I think the way you and Terrence have built that out is going to be extremely impactful. So that's super cool. Thanks, man.
Yeah, I'm excited. And, like I said, I think this is the most important part. We want this hill to be steep, but we don't want it to be impossible to climb, because I know that everyone getting through this and preparing themselves for a couple months to take this test and pass this test, just the level of confidence that our instructors are going to have after this, I think is going to really change the program and ultimately, our students' experience. And they already have a great experience, but I know we can make it better. Like I said, I'm always going to go back to excellence as one of our core values. And, we want to get as close to that as possible. And this is just going to be another tool to help us get closer to that. So yeah, I'm excited.
Did you any big projects you feel like got completed last year that you're happy about?
What did we work on last year? I have really bad memory, so it's not standing out.
I'm in all the departments. I can't keep track.
I have off the top of my head. I'm trying to think about what we worked on last year. Yeah, I'll have to come back to it. Yeah,
no worries. We'll just have Pips edit that out. Hey, your job is this. What did you do last year? Like, I don't remember.
Yeah, not sure.
What? All right, here's another one. This one will make you awkward or feel awkward. What is the biggest impact you or the Muay Thai program could have had on the greater community of the sport, or has on the greater community of the sport? What is the impact we're creating at Easton? Do you think and is it
on the sport of Muay Thai?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good question. I think there's multiple layers to that. I think I think something that we do really well is, we have students, we have coaches, we have athletes, we have officials. And this is something that only recently, maybe the last 5-6 years, that we've really started to see an impact. But, we have all of those types of people in our program making an impact on the sport in some way, which I think is really cool. Students, first and foremost, I think just, if anything, we want to make ambassadors of the sport of Muay Thai and of Easton too, of course, right? But any of our students who go out and are wearing our shirt in public, or, we have guys that go over to Thailand that are wearing our shirt over there. We want people just to be like, man, this guy trained at Easton. He's a fantastic person, him or her. And we had a really great time having them at our school. We get that a lot. And to me, man, that's so cool to hear. I have coaches reach out to me all the time. I make a point to make myself accessible to students who are traveling, and, I'll give them recommendations for places to go train. And the feedback that I get all the time is just, our students are so respectful. They're a pleasure to have in class. They're welcome back anytime. And that means so much to me. That shows that they're kind of spreading our culture at Easton to places that they go and visit. And, people end up remembering Easton. I want them to remember us, of course, for our athletes, and how good they are in the ring. But I also want them to remember us for being really great people, being, hospitable, being respectful, being good ambassadors. And so that side of it to me is really important. And we get that a lot. And, that makes me really proud that our students can go anywhere in the country or across the world, and we get such positive feedback from them as people. And I think that's really cool. We don't talk about that part a ton, but it's, that means a lot to me. We have, obviously, we have officials that go and officiate on the local level and also the national level. And that's something that's been recent for us too. So, in a way they're starting to, have their impact on the sport on a national level, which is awesome. I think something that we talk about a lot in the Muay Thai program, because this is kind of a common misconception, is that, like the only thing you can do is fight in Muay Thai. And that's not necessarily true, right? There's a lot of avenues, and officiating and learning the sport, reffing and judging is a really difficult job and a really valuable job. And it's been really cool to see, Aaliyah Benson from Denver is a great example. Brock from Denver is a great example. He just started officiating at the state tournament last month. Tien is an official at the national level. And that's not something that we've had before in the past, where we've had officials from Easton who started with us are now making an impact on the sport on a national level. I think that's really, really cool. So yeah, that I think, and then obviously the fighters, right? Like we want fighters who have local, national, international recognition. You and I know the value of ring tested Muay Thai, and it's important. It's not everything, but it is important that our product works, that it's effective, that it's ring tested, less so at the local level. That doesn't mean as much to us, but more so at the national and international level. If our product and our our teaching philosophies and our methods are successful there, that means a lot. So to have athletes that are successful on that level, that are flying our flag, is also really, really important. So I think that kind of covers all facets of it, but that's how I look at it. And that's the impact I think that we're having on Muay Thai.
Man, that was so well said. And I know I'm more on the jiu-jitsu side, right? But I feel so much connection to all those words. And a couple things like came up that I think are really important, that I just want to touch on. So a little bit earlier, you talked about the sport and the art, and Alex Huddleston and I, our jiu-jitsu program director and martial arts program director, we were talking about like the 3 avenues of jiu-jitsu, which is also the same for Muay Thai. And it's like, there's the sport, right? Which is you go out there and you're in the ring and you really get into the sport. That's usually after you learn about the art or come into for self-defense, but there's like self-defense, sport, and art. And it's like those 3 things all matter, right? Like if you get into self-defense, once you really, within a bit amount of time, you're going to be pretty good at self-defense because you learn how to punch, kick way better than anybody on the street. And then you get more involved in the sport, which is like, oh, cool. Now I'm going to really explore and test myself with that small percentage of individuals. But the thing that has to wrap around it the entire time is the art. And like without the art wrapping around it, you're just street fighting or you're just playing football. I don't want to take away football. I love football, but like that's probably an unfair example. But like there's this art that can't be let go. And I think what happens is we let go of the art, we end up with douchebags out in the world.
Yeah.
They're tough and they can fight people, but like the art is like, man, it's not about being that. It's like being respectful to those around you. Like, and if you meet the OGs, they may have gone through this. Maybe they never left the art, but like the Terrences, like badass on the mat, extremely respectful, understands the self-defense and the sport, the whole aspect of it. And for me, that's how I came up. Like the art, that's why we bow on the mat. Like that's why we do the bow into the class for Muay Thai. Like don't let go of the art, because if we let go of the art, the philosophy, the spirit, if that goes away, the soul goes away, and then we just have clowns walking around outside. Yep. And I think making sure those are always connected is wildly important. Again, Alex will talk a lot about this. We just had a long conversation about it. That's why it's resonates with me. But I just, you got to have all 3. And if you just have the art, you just have katas. You're in school, and it's like you can't have that either. You got to make sure you're battle tested. You got to make sure this works in a situation where you have to defend yourself. You got to make sure you're holding the spirit and philosophy of where it comes from. And the other thing so that's the one piece. And the other one that I think is really important, that I didn't think about this as much until you said it, but it hit me, about exploration within the art. Like, man, I'm 42. I still have a hard time going out there and not going hard. And then I'm hurt for a month or 2, I'm still battling with that old competitive self. Like I'm trying to let go of it. It's hard for me. But there are areas you can explore within the art. And like, it doesn't have to be, this is like, there are ways to make money in martial arts. Don't get me wrong. But what you explore is what brings you value and how you can help others. So when you're coaching, there's really nothing like when you run a great class and you see the turnaround or watch somebody transition from one person to another over time, there is a lot of selfish impact on you, but also selfless because people change because of that. Yeah. But then you go deeper. You can always go deeper. Like, man, you want to score. There's more to explore. I'm learning about guns right now. Right. And I'm like, it's interesting, but I'm taking a bunch of classes just to learn, as well as a few other things like first aid. But what I'm saying is there's so much depth. You can go deeper and deeper and deeper in all these things. And then the outside, you say, oh, it's just this. But no, man, you can make so much more out of it. It can be a whole lifestyle. And if you love it, like if you get fulfillment out of it, like that's what the goal is, right? Yeah. And when you get to your 40s, or if you're injured, or if your body can't handle it, and you decide you want to explore a different avenue, that exists. And I think that's really cool that we have that it doesn't end. It doesn't need to end, if you're willing to adapt.
And that's a big part of what we do here. Yeah, I think that's really important. So I'm grateful that we have a lot of different opportunities inside of the sport of Muay Thai for our community. I think that's really, really important.
All right. Next question before we pivot to like some more personal stuff. What are the main struggles you see fighters have? How do they overcome them? How do you help? I see you put a lot of posts about this up, so I want to pick your brain.
That's a good question. I think one of the main ones for fighters that that we come across the most is self-doubt, which you and I both know that all the issues that fighters face are things that, you know, normal people face on a day-to-day too. They just manifest themselves maybe more intensely when you have a fight coming up, an actual fight. Self-doubt is a big one for sure, you know, or lack of confidence. I think sometimes just like imposter syndrome. I know, you know, Natalia had that for sure going out to USA Muay Thai Nationals last week. You know, she's out there, and, you know, she's a big fan of a lot of people that are on Team USA. Like, she watches them, she knows who they are. And, you know, she gets there, she's warming up, and next to her is, you know, 4-time world champion Aaron Ortiz, who's won the IFMA World Championships. Next to her is TK from Boston, who got silver at National Worlds last year. You know, like people that are like really well known in the Muay Thai community on Team USA, and she's warming up next to these people. And I know in her mind, she's like, well, I'm not supposed to be here. Like, what is going on right now? You know? So a little bit of this imposter syndrome, man, Mallory has it too, you know, and she just got her black belt. She won the world championship in Octagon last October in front of 60,000 people in a soccer stadium, beating the girl 5 rounds to nothing. And, you know, even yesterday at sparring, you know, she asked me after the rounds, like, am I even going to be ready for my next fight in 5 weeks? Like, she's like, I can't do this, you know? So it's weird. Even when there's a mountain of evidence, you know, that can show you that you are capable of doing this, that doubt with fighters, for whatever reason, always is there and is always available to them. Yeah. So, you know, for me, I always try to remind them that, you know, your confidence is just going to come from the work that you do in the training room. You know, we have to be less focused on outcomes and more focused on effort. But if you put in the work every single day and you do what we ask you to do, and more, that's where your confidence has to come from in yourself, is that you did the work, and the result is kind of out of your hands. So yeah, this is a common one. We have this all the time. You know, I have a whole laundry list of books that I make accessible to these guys too. You know, I encourage reading for all of them, but, you know, they're reading slightly different things that maybe you and I are reading right now, because they're in the middle of their athletic careers, and they're more focused on performance and confidence than some other things in life right now. But, you know, regardless, reading is still essential for them as well, to make sure that we're tapping into what they need to tap into and develop that portion of fighting. So yeah, that's a big one. I would say of all the things, that's probably the biggest. And, you know, we have that, people deal with that in different ways. You know, some of them kind of fake it till they make it type of deal. Some of them are overly, you know, some bravado and try to kind of compensate for it. Some of them just, you know, outright say, man, you know, I'm really nervous. I don't know if I can do this. Yeah. So as a coach, you know, it's just our job to remind them that they can do it. And here's why, because you've done this before, you've made it this far. You know, I think it's always good to remind these guys, you know, day one when they came in, when they didn't know anything, and where they are now. And just give them kind of like a gentle reminder of how much they've accomplished so far. That tends to help. So I like this one because that happens with students too. Like you see that on a regular basis with someone who's sparring or just started sparring or has a bad day. So we see this every single day on the Muay Thai side and on the Jiu-Jitsu side. So this is a good topic to be knowledgeable on and help people navigate. But like I said, it manifests a little bit more with the fighters.
It's the human experience. You're just saying.
It's exactly what it is. Yeah. And man, I would be lying if I said I didn't feel like that as a coach sometimes too. You know, that happens for all of us. I'm not immune to that, you know. Man, when we were walking out for her fight and there's 60,000 people, you know, literally 60,000 people with a soccer stadium full cheering for the other person. I'm like, oh shit, you know, like, that's a nerve-wracking experience for me too. And I'm like, am I qualified to be here as a coach? Like, am I supposed to be here in the corner, you know? And I have to remind myself, I have to go through my self-affirmations and remind myself of what I've done to make sure that we can get to where we need to go. So yeah, I'm not immune to that either, but it happens to all of us.
Man, anybody that doesn't have imposter syndrome is either lying or they shouldn't be there.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how I feel.
And I have it a lot. And it's like you said, it's part of the human experience.
So how do you help? What do you do? What do you do for yourself, and what do you do for them to help them break through it? Like, what does that look like?
I do think positive affirmations are really important for athletes. I always like to give them, I say, create 4, maybe 5, and you need to speak these to yourself every single day. You need to speak these to yourself when there's a moment of doubt. You need to write them. You need to have them in places where you can see them. And then when your mind starts to battle you a little bit and that doubt creeps in, you need to push back with these affirmations, and nothing crazy, but just stuff that that you're capable of, stuff that you've done, stuff that is like objective, and just remind yourself of these things. And I think those go a long way.
So there's a book when I interviewed Allie last year that she recommended. I can't remember the name of the book, but she's like, listen to it. And I was training from a 100-mile race as well as like the Houston Open and the Denver Open for jiu-jitsu. And the book, I mean, I've been competing forever and I was still scared. I'm always scared. But the book really helped. It was poignant. She's listened to it like 10 times, she said. And but yeah, it was all about positive affirmations. And I use those in all of my events. I was like, you're here. You deserve to be here. And I know to say this. I remember hearing that shit when I was in high school. But this book, if I can remember the name of it, really helped remind me to say these things in that moment before stepping on the mat or before stepping on the trail, whatever it is. And that was like, you've done the work. All right. Now it's just time, all that shit. And it really, really helped me a lot more than
they're so important. And there's such a big difference between knowing, in my mind, okay, I know these things, and then saying them out loud and then saying them with like actual confidence and like, saying them like with your chest, versus just kind of like letting the words just dribble out of your mouth, almost more like a question than a statement. And man, you say those over and over and over and over, and then all of a sudden you really start to believe them, and then they get ingrained in you, and it's pretty impressive what you can do after that. So I've seen that work many times. It's worked for me. And so one of the biggest things when people the fighters start to have this kind of self-doubt is I always remind them to go back to those and use them as much as possible.
Badass. All right. We call this part the pivot. Now we're going to go to some weird questions. You may not want to answer them all, but they're always fun. So I was going to ask what your life looks like outside of Easton, but I think it's Abby and pretty much just work. So it's and your dogs. Don't
yeah.
Dogs.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yep. I do not have. Oh, well, we've been doing Legos recently. So yeah, we got into Legos a little bit. We've done a couple sets.
Where are you? Is it like the which ones are you doing? Tell me, give me one or
we're
two.
Doing right now like a Japanese fortress, like a Japanese castle, from like the 1300s or something. So it's like 2,500 pieces.
Is that feudal Japan back then? Is that 1300?
Yes. It's like that, so it's cool because those, the instructionals have like little history blips and like architecture notes in there that you just get to learn a little bit about it as you go. So man, more than anything for me, it's time where Abby and I can be together, where, like we just have some relaxing music on. We're working on the Legos together. The dogs are hanging out. It's a nice moment just to take a break, like we use our walks for that. And now we have Legos that we can use for that too. So anytime that we can get together like that, where we can just focus on each other and on the Legos is awesome. I don't have anything else outside of that, unfortunately.
Dude, I love it. I'm like blushing. My face is all red. That warms my heart because I do Legos with Calvin. But yeah, it's that special time. Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Let's talk about Abby. Abby's important. So name 3 things you and your partner appear to have in common.
Oh, dude, we are the most opposite people you could ever imagine.
Legos, dogs.
Our Frenchies, of course, Muay Thai, our love for Muay Thai. is a big one. I would say food too. You know, we're foodies. We like to go out and eat. We like to try new places. Yeah, so I would say those three.
But you're saying personality traits, like you guys probably have different gaps that you feel for one another.
Oh, we she's like such a extrovert. You know, my social battery is like 10 minutes or less. You know,
Yeah.
Things like she's a night owl. I'm not a night owl. You know, little things like this. You know, the stuff that she watches versus what I watch. You know, she loves, right. She's like obsessed with like these like Korean dramas right now. It's like this crazy niche. I don't know where
I love Korean. I get really into Korean movies sometimes. Like I'll go through this whole like weird. I can't stop watching Korean stuff, and then I'll come out of it like, what just happened?
Yeah, she's deep into it right now. So, and she's upset at the amount of times that we've watched, for me, like Saving Private Ryan or Fury, or you know, like so she's sick to her stomach of those. So yeah, in terms of those, we're totally opposite. But it's great, like you said, it's we balance each other out, and I think that's what's most important. So
you're like two perfect pieces of Swiss cheese that have the opposite holes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's how my wife and I are. All books, we try so hard to like get into like poetry, even poetry. Like, oh, but I like this instead. Whatever it is, it's always the opposite.
Total opposite.
It's so funny. But then there's the small things. Like we like working out. We love being with our kids. We like, we want to grow up. Blah blah blah. So yeah. This one, I feel like I really want to ask you because you're maybe the most well-traveled person I know. Is there something that you've ever dreamed of doing for a long time, and like, why haven't you done it?
Living in Thailand.
Living there.
Yeah.
What's the most time you spent there?
3 weeks.
Okay.
You know, like multiple. I've been there 5 times now. So just kind of a couple weeks at a time. But, you know, Abby and I definitely talked about living there at least, like for like a year, you know, and just we've talked about living in a couple places for a year and just getting out while we can, you know, and we don't have kids, and you know, we talk about that back and forth. I love Thailand. Even if it weren't for Muay Thai, I love Thailand. I love the people over there. I love the culture. I love the climate. It's cheap, you know, so yeah, we've talked about that. I don't know how realistic it is or not, you know. Unfortunately for me, my job over there is meaningless because of how many trainers there are and how many gyms there are. You know, it's like there's what I could do over there is to me, it's like a cab driver. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, but here's the difference. So your job over there, as far as maybe the coaching side, is quote unquote meaningless. But like your job that sets you up that way can be very remote if you set up your life here. Because I feel the same way. Like I want to do 6 months somewhere crazy with my family, and if I set up the Easton correctly, and same as you, there is a possibility for that. It's a
something to explore. The downside is the 14-hour time difference. You know, because we talked about her job, you know, working remote too, but you know, 14 hours, even, you know, I've done the meetings when we've been over there, you know, and like I'm jumping on at 11 at night or midnight for our meeting, which is at like 10 in the morning here, you know, and it's like, it's tough, you know, not, you know, and, you know, maybe there's a way to do it, but that would be one of the challenges for sure. So, yeah, we've talked about it, you know, we're always back and forth on kids, you know, obviously her with having lupus and going through a pretty rough patch last year, that complicates things a little bit. So, yeah, man, we, you know, it's not out of the cards, but you know, her health comes first, before anything else. So, I think that kind of largely determines if we'd be able to move or not, and, you know, bring the dogs over too, see if they can survive in that climate. So.
Oh my God. I want to hear more. I want to do it so bad. I want to do it before the kids are like, I want to do it when they're like 10 and 12 or something, or 10 and 13.
Go move somewhere for a little bit.
Just before they get to high school, you know?
Yeah.
And they're still like us. You know?
Yeah. Man, I know people say this all the time, but I've had more education by traveling the world than anything else, you know, maybe other than reading, right? Reading is probably the most important, but seeing how other people live, and seeing what is out there, not only for myself, like the amount of information that I've brought back to our community from what's outside, either what to do or what not to do. It's invaluable,
Oh, dude,
and
we talk about it all the time. I'm really trying to get like the other PDs. Like, I need you guys to travel more. It's time. And at
I
least in jiu-jitsu, you can do it locally because all the good jiu-jitsu is in the U.S. now.
yeah, yeah. I cannot stress it enough. I've spent more money than I care to talk about investing into traveling, and I wouldn't trade it for a single thing in this world. It's done so much for me. So yeah, if you can find a way to do it, and man, if I was a kid at that age, I have to imagine that's like such a formative experience, to be that age and go see something that you've never seen before, and people that you've never seen before. And that to me is like the crazy part, is you can go somewhere and it's something you've literally never seen before in your life or experienced before in your life. And those experiences are what make you, you just expand everything and your perspective changes. And the more that we learn and the more that we see, it just, yeah, it's really good for you. So, yeah, highly recommend. 10 out of 10.
What is the greatest accomplishment of your life this far?
Ooh, that's a good one. Greatest accomplishment of my life. Probably finding Abby, if I have to be honest, because she's made me a much better person. Yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, obviously the Muay Thai program, and it's not something that I'm like, I don't want to just take credit for. But it's been, 16 years of my life's work, poured into that program, and to see, where it is now, and to see where it's come from, and the opportunities that it's given people, Easton in general. I'm really proud of that, and it's obvious, like I said, it's not just me. It could never just be me. But yeah, to pour 16 years of your life into something, and to have it be really meaningful work, and to see the amount of lives that it impacts, I think is really special. And I know that not everyone gets that opportunity, to like see the impact of your work on a day-to-day basis, or do something that they love. And I'm fortunate enough to have both of those. And so, yeah, man, 16 years is a long time to do anything. But to see the growth that it's had, and the impact that it has, I'm really proud of. And like I said, I don't want to take credit for it. But I've put a lot of time into it, and it's just cool to see where it is right now. It's really awesome. So yeah, that would be a close second on my list, I would say, but Abby's got to come first.
I think I mirror you, man. Like finding Emily and working through it. The kids aren't my accomplishment, right? They're kids. But then, yeah, Easton, those are the two for me the most. I'm not saying I accomplished them, but
yeah,
being a part of those journeys definitely have made the biggest difference on my entire life. Like, I don't even recognize myself from every 5 years. I wouldn't recognize who I was. And I don't think that would have happened if I didn't have the support of a partner at home that was always supportive. And then something to pour my passion and intensity into, which was lucky enough to be Easton. So I know exactly what you mean. I got a couple more of these, and then I'll have a closing questions for you. This one I'm curious about. I'm all curious. These are I really pulled these out just for you. I was like, ooh, this is fun. What do you value most in a friendship?
What do I value most in a friendship? That's a good one. That's a funny question for me, because I'm going to say this in a weird way. I don't have a lot of friends, which is okay. I'm fine with that. But like, I would say all the friends that I do have are relatively low maintenance, and they're reliable,
Dude, I feel like I'm talking to myself right now when you're speaking.
Yeah, like I some of the friends I have obviously are, some of my close friends are here at Easton with us. And then some of the ones that aren't at Easton, I can go, like 6 months without talking to, 8 months. And then we can reach back out and chat like a day went by, and I love those kind of friendships. They're low maintenance, and it's not like I don't want to put effort into it. But we just know that we have a lot going on, but we can still, reach out to each other and depend on each other if we need something. So, um,
can we pause?
Yeah, I don't.
Low maintenance, I think, is what you said. And
I guess if that's the term,
Well, I think it doesn't have to be a disparaging term. Low maintenance. Yeah. Man, I am here for you, and you're here for me, regardless of what happens in life. Assuming we share values, right? Like I'm always going to be there if you need me, but doesn't mean I can sit there and nurture you all the time.
Yeah.
And vice versa. I don't need it. And but when I do, I'm going to come to you. Vice versa, and you're going to be there for me. And I think low maintenance is a really high quality value, where because it means what I hear with low maintenance, I hear trust. I hear there's this trust that exists, and I'm not going to throw you away. So that's what I hear.
That's a much better way of putting it. And I think especially over the last couple of years, I've really I've worked on being careful with my energy, because I pour so much into certain things that I do care about. And if I misdirect or give away some of my energy to things that don't matter or are useless or whatever, right? I feel that quite a bit. That takes a hit on me. So I'm really careful about allocating that now, things that don't involve me or I don't want to be involved in. Actively, I'm away from those things.
And the key thing is not having FOMO, which takes time and experience and maturity.
Yeah.
I didn't know about it, but I don't have FOMO. Just fill me in if I need to do anything. Cool.
Yeah.
Hard thing to get to though.
And I'm not saying that with these friends, but I can have these relationships and kind of they're on the back burner a little bit. And when we need them, we can talk to each other, and put that energy into it. And then otherwise we're kind of just chilling a little bit. So, I appreciate that. I don't sometimes relationships or friendships where they're always asking for something, or they got to talk or whatever it is, it's sometimes it can be too much on both sides. So, man, I think like you said, low maintenance, but having that trust factor, I think is really important.
Oh man, Sean, I fucking love you. All right. One more, and then I have some closing questions that are quick. Okay. Your house containing everything you own catches fire. Yep. After saving your loved ones and pets, obviously. You have time to safely make a final dash to save any one item. It doesn't have to be one item, but what would it be? Why? Anything which you can carry.
Nothing. I have nothing of value that I would save. I'm being serious. Yeah. I've thought about this quite a bit, to be honest. Yeah. I look around at our house and, what we have. If Abby's out and the dogs are out, everything else can go. I'm not attached to too much in here, which, maybe I'm just saying that now. It would suck if it got burned down, but I don't have a lot of stuff, if I'm being honest, and it's not something that I make an effort of, but I just, everything in here, if it goes, it goes. If I have those, I'm okay. I can get everything else again. What's weird is I think travel has helped this too.
I was going to say,
anytime I travel, go overseas, no matter how many times I've done it, right? I've probably done 30 international trips at this point. The second I get in the Uber, I'm like, fuck, I know I forgot something. I know it for a fact, right? I'm OCD when I pack. I go through my checklist. I still forget something. And then I'm like, okay, if I have my passport and my wallet and my phone, I can get anything I need overseas. It'll be okay, And I've gone through that exercise 30 times when I, because flying overseas is fuck, you're going for a week or 2 weeks, it feels like this big thing. But in reality, it's if you have those three things, you're fine, So somehow I think that has helped me. In this, if this stuff goes and I don't have something in here, I'm going to be okay. I'm not worried about it. I don't have anything where I'm man, I'm going back in to get that, if it goes, it goes.
When I was in Brazil, I got my cell phone stolen. I got my money gone. I ran out of money with a month left. So I had a credit card with no cash, so I could only use credit cards to buy in Brazil, which
yeah.
And I had so I had nothing. I was like, well, and I made it. It was a month went by. I'd get on a bus, I'd go hours somewhere, then I'd get drunk maybe, and I'd find my way back to this little island I was living on at 4 a.m, falling off the bus sick or something. It always worked out.
You'll be surprised what you can do. Yeah, you'll be surprised what you can do, and I think like surrendering to that sometimes I think is an important thing to learn,
It's so easy to do it by yourself. It changes when you have kids. Like I still think about
Yeah.
that. Like when I do that now, I can't be this loose cannon. It's like, okay, I have to make sure everybody's safe. They get to where they need to go. So like myself, I don't care about. I do now because I have kids. But like that idea of it's so much harder now with the kids. Like you're responsible for something else. So it's like you can't let go.
Yeah.
Anyway, just random something I think about a lot. I love that. Okay, closing questions. Favorite book or books, and what are you currently reading?
I'm currently reading it's called The Art of Learning by Josh.
Dude, can I share screens with you?
Are you reading it?
Well, so this is Kate Eishen's old one, and I copy paste and then write all new things. But I had her favorite book on here, and there was the only thing left on this, and it was The Art of Learning. So I just deleted Art of Learning as you said it.
That's crazy.
Great book, by the way.
Yeah. Joe Mazzulla, when he was out here, he's the head coach of the Boston Celtics. He recommended that book to me. And yeah, I bought it that day and have been reading it since. And it's been a great read. Yeah, that was really cool. He was just a quick aside, but he's 36 years old. He's the same age as me. And, he led the Celtics to a national championship. He actively watches MMA because he only wants to understand what the coach is saying to the athlete in between breaks, and understand how the coach is talking to the athlete in a situation as intense as a fight. He likes, he trains too actively, but
yeah, Elliot told me they hung out a bunch.
It's really cool to get his insight and stuff on that. And someone who's my age, who's, the head coach of an elite team. Yeah. So, but anyways, that was the book that he recommended.
So counter it with this when you're done.
Okay.
Rage by David Epstein. So counter it with that. That is like, it is key. This is the guy that wrote The Sports Gene, which is a very famous book for sports athletes too. But they counterbalance each other so well. Just so incredibly well.
I'll get that right after. Awesome. Cool.
Favorite books? Chop Wood, Carry Water.
Yeah. That one, I've read that literally, I think 50 times now. It's such a simple book, but there's so many things that are applicable to our line of work, and me, especially with athletes, fighters, dealing with them. It's a good one. The Jocko books obviously have made a pretty profound impact on my life. Extreme ownership and dichotomy, those two in particular. I'm doing a quick glance at this bookshelf right now. Daring Greatly.
Oh yeah, great book.
Was a really good one that had a big impact on me. Leaders Eat Last.
Oh yeah, I remember all of us reading these books together.
Yeah. Those I would say are ones that really stick out to me, and I feel like I find myself using things from those books pretty regularly.
Yeah, me too. Leaders Eat Last, a big one for me. Jocko books, I've read those a few times. Art of Learning. Ian gave me that book back in right when it came out. Maybe not when it came out, but it was like early. We were early in our jiu-jitsu career, and it was like, whoa! It kind of broke some things down for me. But then Range, I just recently read, and God damn, it's so good. You'll see. I'm very excited to talk about it.
Excited to read that one.
All right, last two questions. This is the awkward one always, and people usually aren't ready for it. But do you have any feedback from me?
Do I have any feedback for you? Do I have any feedback for you? No. My feedback always in the past has been just the emotional stuff, I think that is one area that you and I differ on. I used to be like that a lot, right? And then I feel like I swung the other way a little bit, almost too far in the pendulum, maybe too stoic. But I think you've done a fantastic job, working on that and not eliminating it, because I do think it's a big part of who you are and, you know, your passion, but, you know, you let it out and then you course correct after, you know, or like, we know, like, it's like the thing on the teapot, the kettle, the steam's got to come out, you know, and then it's ready to serve after. So, yeah, man, I think you've done a great job with that. I don't really have any other feedback other than that. And it's not even feedback right now. It's something that you've actively worked on. And I think you've gotten a lot better at it. You know, I think you're a great leader for our company. I obviously personally like your style because it's similar to mine selfishly. Yeah, but yeah, I think you're the man. I think you have a really hard job. And I know this is about feedback, not about praise, but
They make me blush here.
yeah, it's a very difficult job. I can't even imagine being at the head of the ship with so many moving parts, because I know what my job entails, and it feels busy. You know, so yeah, man. I think you're doing a great job. And I think as long as you're genuine and honest and care about everyone involved, yeah, I think it's hard to go wrong from there.
Thank you, Sean. I was not asking for that, but I appreciate it.
I know.
All right, last question before we head out. For what in your life, I think I know the answer, but what in your life are you most grateful for? I like ending with gratitude because I feel like if we stay gracious, everything else is easy.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, I'm grateful for everything that we talked about today. Really, you know, I'm grateful for Abby. I'm grateful for our dogs. I'm grateful for Easton. I'm grateful for Muay Thai. I'm grateful for the ability to travel the world and gain new experience. I'm grateful for all of our students. Yeah, the list goes on. You know, I'm a big fan of gratitude too, and Abby and I actually do this quite a bit. We always try to do like 3 things we're grateful for before we go to bed, and just talk about from that day specifically.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's a good way to end the day, and not have too many bad things on your mind, or you know, go to bed worrying about something. So we try to practice that quite a bit. But yeah, man, everything. I'm grateful for all of it, really. So, yeah, I'm in a great spot, and I'm thankful for all the experiences and all the people around me.
Sean, thank you so much for today, man. I appreciate your time. I know how busy you are. This took a couple times to schedule, and my fault most of the time. But man, I just feel when I'm talking to you, I feel it's such a centered conversation. There's no it's so genuine, and I really appreciate that about these conversations. And I just appreciate you always bringing your genuine self to the table, and I always learn so much. Have a great day, man, and I will see you hopefully soon.
Awesome. Thanks, Mike. I appreciate the time.